English translation 331st contact Monday 16th December 2002 at 1846 hours.
Welcome, my child. It is so good to see you again. It has been so long. But you are really funny. Why did you not call me right away instead of knocking on the kitchen door first? Freddie and I went to look in the hall and found no one. When Bernadette said that the knocking sounded from the living room, we looked there, where of course no one was. It was only when Freddie and I wanted to go out to the kitchen door again to look in the hallway that you called me.
Thank you for your welcome. Greetings also, my friend. The reason I knocked on the kitchen door was because I saw you in the kitchen and thought you would investigate my knocking. With that said, I did not think that Freddie would also be involved, so of course I immediately left and went to your workroom here. I then called you from here.
That is how it was. I almost thought so. But it is really good to see you. Do you have news from Ptah?
Not just him, but Quetzal as well. He is having me deliver these notes to you.
And what is it about?
You can read it.
Oh, I'm glad. They are still a few words I wrote when I was 6 years old. It is still in my memory that I thought at the time that my words would be taken as boyish wisdom. But how did Quetzal come to write these notes? Ptah has found nothing more in Sfath's estate than the material he handed over to me some time ago.
Quetzal explained to me that he received these records from him during Sfath's lifetime, who at that time was making many records of your boyish wisdom, as you call it. This happened without your knowledge, so you could not have known that Quetzal was also keeping something of the recorded material. And it was only through Ptah's inquiries with Quetzal that your early words came to light.
And does Quetzal have any other things of mine, perhaps from later times that he received from Sfath?
I can confirm that, because he instructed me to tell you that he will look through Sfath's legacy when he has the opportunity.
Now I am interested to know why Sfath left materials of mine to Quetzal. The connection between the two and the bequest of my things to Quetzal is not clear to me.
Is that really not known to you?
We never talked about such matters. I did not know either, and Ptah never said anything about it, neither did Simyase, that Sfath left materials of mine with Quetzal.
Then listen, Sfath, Simyase, Ptah, and Pleja are related to Quetzal in a kinship, because Quetzal is Sfath's son.
That is how it is, I understand, even if it sounds a little complicated. We say it much simpler.
What do you mean?
Instead of son, we just say great-great-great-grandson. So Quetzal is Sfath's great-great-great-grandson.
That can be said in this simple wise? I did not know that. I will put that term in my vocabulary.
But in German, it is not spelled with an A. So when we speak Swiss German, we say great-grandson, Urur Enkel, like I just said. In German, it is great-grandson, Urur Enkel.
Is it not very time-consuming if you always have to translate what we speak with each other in your mother tongue into German?
No, it is not a problem because I am fluent in both languages and I write in both. German is also my mother tongue, so to speak, so I have 2 of them. This means that I can translate practically any Swiss German word into written German or High German. So there are no difficulties for me when I convert our respective conversations in Swiss German into German. But let us talk about Ptah. What is his news, and when will he be back?
An early return is not planned. For my part, I am to send from Ptah to you and all group members that he sends his greetings to everyone and that he and all his companions are well and that no problems have arisen. Meanwhile, he has penetrated into the material part of the universe. As I told you earlier, they have not yet found any life forms of any higher kind. Discoveries of life forms are limited so far only to microorganisms. Furthermore, it is a first universe, that is to say, universe of the creation, like our Dern universe.
However, you stand in an ongoing connection with Ptah, right?
That is the case, yes.
And the universe adjacent to our Dern universe. What form is that? Could that already be fathomed? A channel had to be created through it, which is probably called a wormhole here. In any case, it must be something that falls within this framework.
The adjacent universe, which we have not yet named, as well as the one where Ptah is not located, is a higher universe, a central universe which we cannot travel to. Since it is dimensioned differently in its evolution than our Dern universe and its dimensions, we are only able to create an energy tunnel through it in order to reach the other side of the universe where Ptah is located. So what you call channel, we call energy tunnel.
Ptah is over there with his great spacer, and it must take enormous masses of energy to create this tunnel and maintain it. And how do you create this energy?
That is correct. Ptah is in the foreign universe with his great spacer flying device. The energy for the creation of the energy tunnel and its maintenance we get from a black hole, as you call it. Other sources would be far too small in every respect to generate the necessary energies.
Could you make a comparison?
I am not familiar with this field, but I know that the energies needed per second include several times the mass of energy, as you call it, that a sun like the one in your system releases in 1 second.
As a layman in physics, I am afraid this is a closed book. But it gives me the notion that an enormous mass of energy is needed, which we on Earth are probably not yet capable of producing by any means, right?
That is absolutely correct. Such enormous energies cannot be created by pure technical means, as they are available to terrestrial human beings or even to us. In fact, gigantic cosmic objects are required for this purpose, which must also be inexhaustible in their energy supply, as is the case only with a black hole.
Can any kind of black hole be used for this purpose? That is to say, a stationary or a moving one?
In principle, the energies can be used by any kind, but for the specific purpose of the energy tunnel, only the energies of a stationary black hole can be used. In the case of our energy tunnel, however, we do not use a simple black hole to generate energy, but a twin structure, by which I mean two similar black holes that are close to each other and allow their energies to flow into each other.
Interesting. I have never heard of that. How far apart are such twin black holes from each other that they can still interact with their energies and still not eat each other, and therefore not merge, if I may put it like that?
Your description is good, as is your assumption that a certain distance between the objects is necessary, which results from their power. To be calculated are the distances in a larger number of light years. The gravitational forces of the black holes alone extend over hundreds, thousands, or even millions of light years, depending on their size. The type of black hole is also important.
I understand. There are different kinds of black holes, whereby different modes of activities also appear, as Quetzal once explained to me.
That is correct.
Since nothing of importance has yet emerged in the foreign universe, there is probably no point in discussing it further. So let us leave it alone until something new comes up. And if Ptah stays over there for a longer time, the talks with him will fall flat. So what about other contacts, like with you and Injana, etc.?
We will maintain our contacts, alternately, of course.
It is such a pleasure to meet you, too. And your and Injana's collaboration with Bernadette and me in the correction work will continue?
Nothing else was decided.
Florina, do you know what tennis elbow is?
What you mean is probably tennis elbow or epicondylitis humeri radialis. This is an inflammatory change in an epicondylus due to overuse, such as frequent repetitive movements or functional repetition of movements.
As educated as you are in these matters, I want to be. Yes, this is exactly the evil I am talking about. Unfortunately, I have developed such a tennis elbow or epidingsbum. For 2 months now, I cannot remember how to get rid of the confounded pain that now reaches from the fingers, forearm, elbow, and upper arm to the skull, and even now affects the body and abdomen. I had an injection made at the doctor's, but it did not help much.
It was bound to happen. I know how hard you work on the computer. Since you got this one, you work much more than before when you did your work with your electric typewriter. So it is not surprising that the evil had to come out now. Before I go away, I will ease your pain. I have a small device for this purpose in my standard equipment. However, with this I can only relieve the greatest pain, which will soon reappear if you continue to do your work with the same intensity. You should stop working for at least a month to allow the inflammation to heal. If you do not do so, the pain will soon return to you and eventually you may suffer permanent damage.
Thank you for your offer, which I am happy to take up. But I cannot leave the work, at least not yet, because first I have some things to do that I should have finished by the end of the month, at the latest by the end of January 2003. After that I can make it a bit more comfortable and take some free time, which I can do if Ptah does not suddenly come with new work.
That will not be the case for the time being. Now, if I ease your pain and reduce the inflammation, it will not last long if you really continue working in the old wise. You really should stay calm.
Can laugh, my child. But I thank you for your help.
Even if you do not want to be lectured, I still understand your motives. Then I will not try anymore.
Then everything is clear, so we do not have to talk about it anymore, and we can move on to other things.
We can do that. And I would like to say that I was very surprised when I was able to look at your writings with Ptah and also with Quetzal, which you had already done in your earliest youth of only 6 years. On the one hand, it is extraordinary that a boy can read and write at the age of 6, and on the other hand, your early works correspond more to the thought forms of an adult than to those of a boy of 6. All your later works of younger years are to be classified equally. Svath was obviously not only a very good friend to you, but also a very good teacher, while you were really an exceptionally good and alert student.
I am honored by your words. Thank you. But you should know that I was also a huge truant. In a single year, I had 173 or 172 unexcused absences.
I am aware of that. But that referred to your regular schooling in the 4th grade, which was related to the unfitness of the then teacher, Frey. Nevertheless, you learned a lot with your father's friend Fritz Seidel, who taught you mathematics for nights on end, while you continued to learn an unusual amount from Svath, especially in the areas of the spiritual teaching, psychology and the function of consciousness, thoughts and feelings and the psyche, etc. So you were already in your 6th year, more knowledgeable, and in this respect, more adult than an actual adult person. So you actually had no childhood, or only a very short and meager one.
Marvelous what you do not know about me. But you know, even with all the learning, I did not let it deprive me of enjoying my boyhood and youth. In fact, I played many a trick, had my own gang, the Barracks Gang, whose members only called me the Pope because I was very well versed in religion, of course through Svath and Pastor Zimmerman. I also had time to play hide-and-seek games with the neighborhood children or to learn all kinds of handicrafts from some craftsmen. Somehow I was always busy learning with Svath, Pastor Zimmerman, and the school, and there was also some solid work that we children had to do at home and with the neighboring farmers. I would not want to miss anything of all that, because the whole thing has shaped me in every respect, both the beautiful and joyful things and the unpleasant and annoying things that alternately came up. So I learned early on, along with many other things, to work hard, to be persistent and honest as well as helpful and worthy of life, and to respect and esteem it, the human beings and all forms of life in general, including nature as a whole, with appropriate reverence.
All these things are also known to me, as they are to all of us. And it is also an extraordinary honor for all of us to be able to maintain contact with you and to always count on your wise advice.
You do me great honor, dear friend, but you embarrass me. So please let us talk about other things. Do you know what age Svath was when he died? I have probably never asked any of you this question before, at least I cannot remember. Some time ago this question became acute from America, but I could not give any information about it.
Svath was Ptah's father. He was 1,152 years old as far as I know, but I cannot say that with certainty.
He was Ptah's father, yes, I know that. Then I have to ask Ptah himself. Then something else. At the 256th contact on the 13th of May 1996, Ptah and I talked about the so-called Santilli film. First I talked to you about it, and asked you what the disease was called that the 16-year-old girl suffered from, who was defamatorily portrayed in the film as an alien being. Ptah explained that the disease was called proteria. Some time ago, language came back to this girl, but I could only tell you what the disease was, a so-called protoplasmic change of the whole body, as Ptah explained. When I looked for the term proteria in the medical textbook Pshirembel, I could not find it. The only term I found was progeria. But this has nothing to do with proteria, because progeria is still an incurable disease, which children already succumb to, and within a few years show general symptoms of old and very old people.
The term proteria is not of earthly origin, but comes from our language, which is why you cannot find it in your textbooks. I do not know what the disease is called in your language.
I see, then I could have searched for the term for a long time. But what interests me now, where is the body of the girl who was abused for the movie? Do you know anything about it?
The whole thing is familiar to me, because it was clarified by us. The proteria-stricken and deceased girl herself was not abused for the reprehensible film and the alleged autopsy, but a macabre and malicious abuse only took place in the form of the fact that, according to the girl, an image was made from artificial materials, and this was autopsied by alleged doctors and pathologists in a film-like manner. So the deceased girl was not herself abused as a model, but only the plastic product, which was lying and fraudulently passed off as an extraterrestrial being.
Thanks, that clears things up. Then this. Do you also have same-sex couples living together? Which also raises the question of whether there are lesbian women and homosexual men, and if so, whether such same-sex couples are considered legal ties?
Homosexuality is a natural nature adverseness and can be both genetically determined and acquired. But you know that. Of course, this also exists with us, as with all human life forms. But it is so that if desired, homosexuality, if it is a genetic condition, can be corrected and neutralized, and the state of heterosexuality can be established. But if this is not desired, then it is accepted and respected, because there is no discrimination in our country with regard to these matters. And if same-sex couples come together in a life partnership, then this is absolutely right, and thus also corresponds to our order, because every form of life must be respected, no matter how it is in any relationship.
Thank you also for this information. Then again about the proteria. Can you tell me something more about it?
It is, as I said, a term that comes from our language for an extremely rare disease, which, like other diseases, is no longer present in our country, but still occurs in absolutely isolated cases on the earth. And as we know, in the form in which the girl was ill, there is no other case known on earth at the present time, which I can say because we record the illnesses of the people of the earth when they are peculiarities. Proteria itself is, as I said, an extremely rare disease, which according to our records has only appeared 4 times on Earth in the last 700 years. The disease causes cellular and thus also shape-based, limb-based, and organ-based deformations, which ultimately lead to death. The age of the humans affected by this disease is very low, while the maximum age is between 15 and 20 years. And as I said before, the 16-year-old Proteria girl was disrespectfully used as a subsequent form to a dummy product, as you call it. A structure made of skin-like plastics, etc., equipped with similarly produced and animal organs as viscera and deliberately misrepresented as a Roswell alien being, on which a fake autopsy was then performed and banished to old stock of leftover film.
This is news. Thanks. Those were the main questions.
Then I would like to discuss some private matters with you now and ask your advice, if I may.
But that is not a question. Obviously.
Thank you. You are simply tireless, even in your willingness to help. If I want to start right away,